Hello everyone. Welcome to today's discussion related to Jonathan Swift and his satirical work A Modest Proposal. If you are a new viewer to this channel or if you have not subscribed this channel yet, please subscribe it and expect for more videos to come. A Modest Proposal. First of all, let's talk about Jonathan Swift's biographical sketches. Jonathan Swift was born in 1667 and he passed away in 1745. He was an Irish satirist and Anglican cleric. His best known work is Gulliver's Travels, published in 1726, an allegory that is symbolic story with meaning beyond its literal sense, describing travel to lands inhabited by giants, miniature people, and intelligent horses. His satirical talents are evident in the pamphlet A Modest Proposal, which he wrote in protest of an ongoing famine in Ireland. It suggested that children of the poor should be eaten. His other works include A Tale of a Top, attacking corruption in religion and learning. His lucid prose style is simple and controlled, and he imparted his views with fierce indignation and wit. Born in Dublin, he was educated there at Trinity College and ordained in 1694. Swift became secretary to the diplomat William Temple at Moorpark, Surrey, where his friendship with the child Stella, Esther Johnson, began in 1689. Returning to Ireland, he was ordained in the Church of England in 1694, and in 1699 he was made a prebendary of St. Patrick's, Dublin. He made contributions to the Tory paper, The Examiner, of which he was editor from 1710 to 1711 for a year. He obtained the deanery of St. Patrick in 1713. His journal to Stella is a series of intimate letters that was published from 1710 to 1713 for 3 years, in which he described his life in London. From about 1738, his mind began to fail, and this man passed away in 1745. Let's talk about Modest Proposal. First of all, introduction to Modest Proposal. A Modest Proposal has a long title with good elaboration. A Modest Proposal for preventing children of poor people in Ireland from being a burden to their parents or country and for making them beneficial to the public. It was published in 1729. It's a satirical pamphlet by Jonathan Swift in which he suggested that the children of the poor should be fattened to feed the rich. An offer is described as innocent, cheap, easy, and effectual. Let's learn the summary first. The full title of Jonathan Swift's pamphlet is A Modest Proposal for preventing the children of poor people from being a burden to their parents or country and for making them beneficial to the public. The tract is an ironically convinced attempt to find out a fair, cheap, and easy method for converting the starving children of Ireland into sound and useful members of the Commonwealth. Across the country, poor children, predominantly Catholics, are living in squalor because their families are too poor to keep them fed and clothed. Forget about education and health. The author argues by hard-edged economic reasoning as well as from a self-righteous moral stance for a way to turn this problem into its own solution. His proposal, in effect, is to fatten up these undernourished children and feed them to Ireland's rich landowners. Children of the poor could be sold into a meat market at the age of 1, he argues, thus combating overpopulation and unemployment, sparing families the expense of childbearing while providing them with a little extra income, improving the culinary experience of the wealthy and contributing to the overall economic well being of the nation. The author offers statistical support for his assertions and gives specific data about the number of children to be sold, their weight and price, and the projected consumption patterns. He suggests some recipes for preparing this delicious new meat, and he feels sure that innovative cooks will be quick to generate more. He also anticipates that the practice of selling and eating children will have positive effects on family morality. Husbands will treat their wives with more respect, and parents will value their children in ways hitherto unknown. His conclusion is that the implementation of this project will do more to solve Ireland's complex social, political, and economic problems than any other measure that has been proposed. This is the overall summary of a modest proposal. Now let's go with the discussion. Modest proposal is one of the most enjoyable satires of all time, in which Jonathan Swift pretends to be a cool and political economist who shows his scientific precision how to solve the problem of poverty in Ireland. Irish babies should be raised as food to be placed in the tables of the rich in England. His satirical talents are evident in the pamphlet A Modest Proposal, published in 1729, which he wrote in protest of the ongoing famine in Ireland. It suggested that children of the poor should be eaten. It is a masterpiece of comic incongruity with its so blend of rational deliberation and savage conclusion. It is a grimly ironic letter of advice in which a public spirited citizen suggests that Ireland's overpopulation and dire economic conditions could be alleviated if the babies of poor Irish parents were sold as edible delicacies to be eaten by the rich. It is one of the most savage and powerful tracts, a masterpiece of ironic logic. His tone and manner varied from direct factual presentation to exhortation, humor, and bitter irony in his two Irish writings, the other being Drapier's Letters, published from 1724 to 25. Swift had hoped for preferment in the English church, but his destiny lay in Ireland, and the ambivalent nature of his relationship to that country and its inhabitants provoked some of his most demanding and exhilarating writing, above all, A Modest Proposal, in which the ironic use of an invented persona achieves perhaps its most extraordinary and modern development. Swift blamed Ireland's backward state chiefly on blindness of the English government, but he also insistently called attention to things that the Irish themselves might do in order to better their lot. A Modest Proposal seems to sum up the best of Swift's irony. Irony is the most powerful instrument of satire and one of the most difficult to use. It requires very great skill, as it is mainly based on the discrepancy or incongruity between what the sentences seem to be saying and what they are really saying. Swift is a real master of irony and satire, as he is able to say the most atrocious and shocking things in the most natural possible way. A Modest Proposal was inspired by the dreadful conditions Swift found in Ireland when he made his last journey there in 1727. Famine and starvation were widespread because of a series of ruinous harvests, which were also due to mismanagement by the Irish themselves. To help them, he then suggested the modest proposal 2 years later, that is 1729. His ironic tract of modest proposals, published in 1729, proposes ameliorating Irish poverty by butchering children and selling them as food to wealthy English landlords. So also with his modest proposal concerning the children of Ireland, which sets up the proposition that poor Irish farmers ought to raise children as dainties to be eaten, like roast pigs on the tables of prosperous Englishmen. In this most characteristic work, it is impossible to find Swift or his motive. The injustice under which Ireland suffered, her perversity in raising large families to sudden poverty, and the indifference of English politicians to her suffering and protest are all mercilessly portrayed. But why? That is still the unanswered problem of Swift's life and writings. Swift believed that we need religion as we need our dinner. Wickedness makes Christianity indispensable, and there is an end of it. A modest proposal for preventing the children of poor people in Ireland from being a burden to their parents or country and for making them beneficial to the public proposes that surplus children be eaten. An excerpt from the text is taken, this I am going to read it. I have been assured by a very knowing American of my acquaintance in London that a young healthy child, well nursed, is at a year old a most delicious, nourishing and wholesome food, whether stewed, roasted, baked or boiled, and I make no doubt that it will equally serve in a fricassee or a ragout. I do therefore humbly offer it to a public consideration that of the 120,000 children already computed, 20,000 may be reserved for breed, whereof only 1/4 part to be males, that the remaining 100,000 may at a year old be offered in sale to the persons of quality and fortune throughout the kingdom, always advising the mother to let them suck plentifully in the last month, so as to render them plump and fat for a good table. A child will make 2 dishes at an entertainment for friends, and when the family dines alone, the fore or hind quarter will make a reasonable dish, and seasoned with little pepper or salt will be very good boiled on the 4th day, especially in winter. After enumerating the moral as well as economic advantages of his scheme, Swift ends disinterestedly. I have no children by which I can propose to get a single penny, the youngest being 9 years old, and my wife fast childbearing. The proposal is prophetic of the 19th century economist who, on hearing the number who had died in the Irish potato famine, remarked sadly that it was not enough. Swift exposes the inhumanity of emerging forms of rational simplification by simplifying them even further. His modest proposal solves a human problem by an economic calculus which ignores human love and treats the poor as cattle. In a modest proposal, Swift shows curious combination of bitterness and compassion, as though his misanthropy were based on frustrated love. The reader is forced to draw conclusions which never once suggested by the writer. Presented in the guise of an economic treatise, the essay proposes that the country ameliorate poverty in Ireland by butchering the children of the Irish poor and selling them as food to wealthy English landlords. Swift's proposal is a savage comment on England's legal and economic exploitation of Ireland. The essay is a masterpiece of satire with a blend of rational deliberation and unthinkable conclusion, and its title has come to symbolize a proposition to solve a problem with an effective but outrageous cure. Okay, I'm sure you got the points. If you have any queries, you can put your comments in my comment box. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like this channel. Thank you very much.